Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global South. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost. Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Iran says it will avenge the death of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah, who was killed by an Israeli airstrike on Friday. Tehran confirms a top commander of its Revolutionary Guard Corps was also killed. Former US President Donald Trump says he will have Vice President Kamala Harris impeached and prosecuted if he wins the November 5th election. Trump alleges Harris advocated for an open border policy and allowed criminals to enter the country. The death toll from Hurricane John increases to 16 and leaves thousands homeless in Mexico after making landfall last week. At least 18,000 Mexican troops have been deployed for rescue operations. American oil giant ExxonMobil announces plans to invest $10 billion in Nigeria for 2 offshore oil projects. The company will also invest $2.5 billion annually to enhance the current rate of oil production. And Tanzania directs all mining outfits exporting gold to allocate at least 20% of gold for selling to the central bank. This as Tanzania looks to increase its foreign reserves amid a depreciation of the local currency. Hello and welcome. We start with Sudan. The United Arab Emirates has accused the Sudanese army of carrying out a targeted attack on its ambassador's residence in the capital Khartoum. The UAE's foreign ministry said the residence of its envoy was attacked by a Sudanese military aircraft on Monday. The ambassador was not present in the residence. He left Sudan after the war erupted last year. The UAE embassy has been relocated and is operating out of the Port Sudan. But the foreign ministry said the attack caused extensive damage to the building. The Gulf nation has strongly reacted by calling it a heinous attack. It has called on the army to take the full responsibility for the incident. UAE's foreign ministry also affirmed that it will lodge a complaint to the League of Arab States, the African Union and the United Nations. The Sudanese army, meanwhile, has rejected the accusation and has instead blamed the RSF for the attack. The attack on the UAE ambassador's residence comes as the Sudanese army launched its biggest offensive in months to retake the areas of Khartoum lost to the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or the RSF. War between the army and the RSF erupted in April last year over a transition to free elections. The army has repeatedly accused the UAE of providing weapons and support to the RSF in a 17-month-old war. However, the Gulf state denies the allegations.
We have lots of evidence that proves that there are planes that transport weapons from the UAE to Uganda and then to Chad. This situation was confirmed in the report of the United Nations and was made clear to us through flight tracking. That's why this situation is clear, and everyone knows that is one of the main reasons why the war has continued.
A UN document that was leaked in January described the accusation against the UAE as credible. It found evidence that suggested that the UAE had sent weapons to the RSF several times. As per the document, Emirati passports were allegedly found in Sudan, which were linked to soldiers of the RSF. Analysts say the UAE has a vested interest in Sudan. It views the resource-rich, strategically located Sudan as an opportunity to expand its influence and control in Africa. It is considering the partnership with the RSF a gateway to gain access to Sudanese land, seaports and minerals, as well as agricultural resources. Since 2018, the UAE has reportedly invested over $6 billion in the African country. The UAE is also involved in the US-led efforts to end the war in Sudan. Last month, the UAE joined a slew of other nations to participate in peace talks in Geneva. However, the Sudanese army rejected the talks due to the UAE's presence. As per reports, American officials have told the Sudanese president and army chief, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, that they will pressure the United Arab Emirates to stop providing weapons to the RSF. But how will the latest escalation complicate the situation between the UAE and Sudan? Now, for more on this, we have with us Professor William Gumede, founder of Democracy Works Foundation, who is joining us live from Johannesburg, South Africa. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, good afternoon. I'm very happy to speak to you.
Now, Professor, what are the potential motivations behind the Sudanese army's attack on the UAE ambassador's residence in Khartoum?
I mean, you know, the Sudanese conflict is one of the most tragic conflicts in Africa today. I mean, we talk about the Russia-Ukraine war constantly, but I mean, this is certainly Africa's biggest conflict. We're talking about, 25 million people, half of the country needs support, and 8 million people have fled the country. Now, one of the reasons for this, the conflict continuing has been that there's so many foreign players, foreign countries with vested interests in Sudan that are there. And I know, I mean, the latest, the context of what's happening right now, I mean, the Sudanese armed forces has, the last couple of weeks, launched an offensive to try to take over Khartoum. And that's the context at the moment. And, the UAE has been accused of supporting the rapid support forces, and obviously they've denied and so on. And I think in the Sudanese armed forces is in their offensive now to try to take over Khartoum. I'm not surprised at the accusations that they may have attacked the UAE residents, because the UAE is a very key supporter of the rapid support forces.
Yeah. Right. And Professor, how might this incident impact the diplomatic relations between Sudan and the United Arab Emirates, as well as Sudan's relations with other Gulf countries?
I mean, the first thing is the UAE is very invested in Sudan. I mean, we're talking here about, since 2018, $6 billion US dollars of investment. They've announced investment of the port, potential investments of the ports, and so on. And also, they've identified Sudan as a country that they can export agriculture from. So, this is a very, this conflict right now between the Sudanese armed forces, the Sudanese government, and the UAE has massive implications, not only for the relationship between Sudan and the UAE, but also for the region. I mean, if you think about, the Sudanese, Sudan is surrounded by countries in conflict, also Libya, Central African Republic, and so on. So we may see even the spread of the conflict even further. And this conflict, unless it's dealt with, this disagreement, may actually lead to the prolongation of this whole conflict.
And what measures can international bodies like the United Nations and the African Union take to address and prevent such attacks on diplomatic missions?
I mean, the first thing, so the UN should, we need much more strong involvement in the UN. I know, at the beginning of the year, the UN had a report that stated that UAE is potentially conflicted in the country. The second thing, in terms of there's an embargo, a UN embargo, but that's certainly not enough. The UN should really isolate foreign players in the conflict, because the involvement of foreign players has actually been one of the reasons why the conflict has been going on for such a long time. For example, it's not only the UAE, it's also Russia is also involved, Iran is involved, Egypt is involved, Saudi Arabia is involved in this conflict. I mean, it's almost a battle of foreign players to try to take control of Sudan via this civil war. But I think we haven't seen the African Union. So foreign players have, even in a peacemaking process, it's been foreign players, but it's not the African Union. So the African Union really has to come to the party and intervene much more actively.
Yes. And Professor, in what ways could this attack influence the ongoing conflict between the Sudanese military and the RSF? And what are the broader implications for regional stability?
I mean, clearly it seems that the Sudanese armed forces, what they want to try to do, they're trying to isolate the UAE, and they're trying to prevent any weapons or any aid from the UAE to the rapid support forces. Obviously, the UAE has denied that they're providing any support to the rapid support forces, because I mean the key reason, if the allegations are true that the UAE supports the rapid support forces, it is one of the reasons then for the conflict to continuing. And what would it mean for a broader region? It will destabilize the broader region, but not only outside Sudan, but also within the country. If you think about it, I mean, this is Africa's biggest, right now, the biggest humanitarian crisis. It will just prolong the crisis and make it worse, but it will also destabilize the countries around Sudan.
Yes. Professor, thank you very much for being with us on the show. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Moving on to South Africa, where in a rural town of the country's southeast, 18 people, including 15 women, were killed in 2 mass shootings. The shooting took place on the night of the 27th of September in the town of Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape province. Now, footage released by police showed that the shootings occurred at 2 houses in the same neighborhood on the outskirts of Lusikisiki town. According to police, 12 women and a man were killed in one house, while 3 women and 1 man were killed in another house. The 18th victim died in hospital later, whose identity is yet to be confirmed. Reports said that victims had gathered at the houses to attend a traditional mourning ceremony just when the shooting occurred. All victims are reported to be each other's neighbors or relatives. The police said that they have mobilized maximum resources to ensure the killers are found, but so far no suspect has been arrested. In a statement, the South African police minister said that either the suspects must hand themselves over to the police or the police will fetch them. The authorities assured the citizens in the Eastern Cape province and the rest of the country that they will leave no stone unturned in hunting down the perpetrators of the mass shooting. The mass shooting in the Eastern Cape province comes amid Operation Shanele, now a high-intensity policing strategy to crack down on violent crime across South Africa. Now, according to South African police, just in the last 4 weeks, Operation Shanele has led to the arrest of over 53,000 suspects, including 10,844 wanted criminals in crimes such as murder, rape, kidnapping and extortion. Authorities said that they have also seized hundreds of illegal firearms, including handguns and rifles. A significant portion of these illegal firearms were recovered in the Eastern Cape province. South Africa has one of the highest murder rates in the world. More than 27,000 murders were reported in South Africa in 2022 alone, which amounts to 45 murders per 100,000 people, against a global average of 5.61. As authorities respond to the continued onslaught of violent crime in South Africa with Operation Shanele, the question remains, how long will it take for South Africa to decisively defeat the scourge of mass shootings? Shifting focus now, after Mpox, another health scare is emerging in Africa. At least 6 people have died in Rwanda in a fresh outbreak of the Marburg virus. It is a highly infectious disease that leads to severe illness. At least 26 cases have been confirmed since Friday in Rwanda. Authorities say the majority of the victims are health workers in the intensive care unit, and they are tracking around 300 more people who may have been exposed to the virus, mostly in the capital city of Kigali. Rwandan government is implementing measures such as contact tracing, quarantining affected individuals, and launching public health awareness campaigns to curb the virus.
In the other outbreaks, this type of disease, most of the time, if not all the time, they start from hospitals. Because if you are sick, you go to a hospital anyway. And that explains why healthcare providers are the most at risk. And so far, more than 8% of the patients we have are actually healthcare workers or staff within those departments taking care of very sick patients.
So what is the Marburg virus? It is a highly infectious disease similar to Ebola. The virus was first identified in 1967 in the German city of Marburg, hence the name. Now, the suspected natural source of the Marburg virus is the African fruit bat, which carries the pathogen but does not fall sick from it. African green monkeys and pigs can also carry the virus. As per the WHO, the disease has a high fatality rate ranging from 24 to 88%. In humans, the virus can spread through bodily fluids such as blood, saliva, vomit, and objects contaminated with fluids like clothing, bedding, and needles, etc. Infected semen, which can remain infectious months after recovery. Now, its symptoms include high fever, severe headaches, muscle pains, watery diarrhea, stomach pain, vomiting, and bleeding from various parts of the body. So what are the possible treatments? Well, currently, there are no vaccines or antiviral treatments available for the virus. But potential treatments like blood products, immune and drug therapies, as well as early candidate vaccines are being evaluated. But there are ways that people can prevent the virus from spreading, and these include avoiding physical contact with infected people, washing hands regularly, avoiding consumption of bushmeat or contact with pigs in outbreak areas, and also strict containment measures. This is Rwanda's first Marburg outbreak. Neighboring Tanzania reported cases of the disease in 2023, while Uganda experienced its last outbreak in 2017. The 3 countries share porous borders. The disease in Rwanda is also spreading as Africa is already reeling from an Mpox outbreak, which prompted the WHO to declare a global health emergency. The epicenter of the current Mpox outbreak is Rwanda's neighbor DRC, which has reported more than 25,000 suspected cases and 800 deaths this year. The WHO says it is providing support to Rwanda in managing the Marburg outbreak. Now, will the country be able to contain the deadly disease, or will the world see another deadly outbreak causing a global health emergency? And finally, to our special segment, Resurgent Africa. Amid the coups and the crises, there are many positive stories from Africa that often get overlooked, but not on this show. Our story today is from Kenya's Mombasa City. A dedicated group of volunteers is stepping in to help baby sea turtles survive their perilous journey from their nests to the ocean. As threats like habitat loss, pollution and climate change prevent many from reaching the sea, our last report gets you all the details on how these conservationists are guiding the hatchlings to the water.
The internet is a treasure trove of heartwarming animal videos. From a dog enjoying a splash-filled day to a cat serving as a guiding companion for its blind female friend, the range of touching moments is endless. But nestled among these feel-good snippets are awe-inspiring videos of tiny sea turtles emerging from their delicate eggs and embarking on a dangerous journey toward the unknown depths of the sea. However, due to the relentless loss of nesting beaches, blinding light pollution and climate change, many of these baby turtles never make it to the sea.
These turtles are endangered species, and turtles have been in the world for over 1,400 years, just like when the dinosaurs were here.
Their journey, which is one of nature's miracles, is cut short before it even begins.
All these beaches here are places where turtles come to lay their eggs, and it should be natural for the eggs to come out on the right days. But due to the challenges that exist, such as the increase in activities in the sea, human activities, people building beyond the borders near the beaches of the sea, and poachers, all have a negative effect on the turtles.
But amid the growing threats, a group of Kenyan volunteers has taken it upon themselves to become the guardians of hope for these small, determined flippers. Their mission? To guide the turtles from the moment they break free of their shells to the very moment they slip into the uncertain waters. With tender hands, these volunteers help the hatchlings navigate their brief yet perilous path across the sand, all the while battling the elements and the ever-present danger of predators. As the turtles inch closer to the ocean, the waves, nature's own arms, take over, carrying them into the vast, mysterious blue, where they'll attempt to survive and grow into the majestic ancient beings that have roamed Earth's oceans for over 100 million years. Yet, the harsh truth remains. Only a small fraction of these vulnerable newborns make it past their first days in the water. But these conservationists aren't just the guiding stars for baby turtles, they are warriors for the environment. In addition to aiding the hatchlings, they tirelessly clean the beaches, removing deadly plastics that can easily be mistaken by the turtles as food. For many, ingesting these toxic materials is a death sentence before their lives have even begun. It's a heartbreaking reminder of the damage we inflict on ecosystems that are struggling to survive. Sea turtles are not just creatures of the deep, they are vital players in the health of marine ecosystems. They ensure the survival of seagrass beds and coral reefs, which in turn sustain a myriad of ocean life. Their potential extinction would trigger a chain reaction that could irreparably damage not only the ocean's biodiversity, but also human life. Everything is interconnected, and losing these turtles could unravel the very fabric of our world's ecological balance.
We need to create awareness, or to make people understand, to educate people about the importance of this sea of ours, because it greatly affects the ecosystem. And also, if we do not take care of our environment, the environment will come to beat us in a worse situation.
The volunteers labor tirelessly, driven by one unshakable hope: that their efforts will awaken something in the hearts of others. They dream of a future where the weight of responsibility for our planet is shared by everyone, where people are moved to take action not just for the turtles, but for the oceans, the earth, and ultimately for ourselves.
And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Hello and a very warm welcome. I am Gushin Garland and you're watching